Have you ever been playing a racing game and just thought, wait a minute, this game is missing real-time soft body physics, realistic suspension simulation, lifelike handling, modding support, and a variety of different vehicle types? If that's the case, then I've got the game for you. This is BeamNG.drive, a game that you've most likely heard of, which has all of those features. Within minutes of buying this game, you'll be immersed into the fictional world of BeamNG, and you'll be overwhelmed with the fun you'll have from just a crash simulator like you thought it would be. But this video will not just be an advertisement for BeamNG. Today we'll take a look at where BeamNG started and discover how this game got so popular. In 2005, when phones looked like this, a game called Rigs of Rods was created. Initially, it was made as an off-road truck simulator, but as it got updated, the game developed into an all-around physics sandbox game, much like the game we all know and love, BeamNG. This Rigs of Rods game also had one notable similarity with BeamNG, and that was the node and beam structure. In both of the games, vehicles are constructed using these interconnected nodes and beams, which replicate the stresses and forces acting on each and every component of the vehicle. For 2005, this soft body physics system was incredibly advanced, so the game started getting more and more popular over the years. What's interesting is that even with BeamNG being on the market, they still update this game to this day, which is proper dedication, to be honest. Anyway, 6 years after the release in 2011, a few former Rigs of Rods developers, including Thomas Fisher, the CEO of BeamNG, gathered to try and revamp this game on their own and to improve it to their liking. About a year later, in 2012, they uploaded a video on YouTube showcasing a completely new game, though still based on soft body physics, and it's called BeamNG. This video went on to amass over 4 million views, which brought BeamNG tons of attention. Now, this 2012 BeamNG was still very different from how it is today. There was only one car, the D series, which is the best one of course. The physics were nowhere as good, and most importantly, it had a whole different game engine. This meant that the game had seemingly better graphics than today, but there were numerous issues with the engine. Mainly that it was too expensive, which meant that the devs had to switch over to a lesser known one called Torque 3D. With this new game engine and a couple new cars and maps added into the game, people started getting excited for the public release, and rightly so. I mean, it looked so good, some people even thought it's a new Grand Theft Auto game. And their patience would eventually be rewarded, because on August 3rd, 2013, the developers finally decided to publish this game. But the game still did not have that many maps and cars, which meant that the players started modding it. One of the first mods, if not the first one ever, was the 1949 Cadillac Series 62 by Mythbuster, which sort of got the ball rolling and encouraged others to try making mods. And even today, the modding community is an incredibly important part of BeamNG, as on average about 200 mods get released every single month. Some of the best mods include a plane, a train, a crane, rain, and that's just the beginning. Now, with these mods, content creators around the world could make loads of new videos with BeamNG. This meant that BeamNG would start gaining traction, and it would basically get into a popularity loop, because the more players started playing, the more would make YouTube videos, for example, and some would actually get hundreds of millions of views. This mass attention from social media meant that the guys at BeamNG could hire new employees, which in turn would accelerate the development. And you may ask, what made BeamNG gain so much attention? Well, even though I said it's not just a crash simulator, the reason why it gained this fame among the racing game community is because of the crashes. And then these types of videos started to pop up, and we don't talk about those, no. Anyways, another reason why this game is so different from the others is because of the insane customization. Not only can you select a specific trim level of a car, you can also change almost every single part of it, which got BeamNG 17th place on this top 20 list? Interesting. Okay, but even though it didn't make first place on this top 20 thing, it sure did make an impact into the racing game industry. Nowadays, there's very high interest in realistic racing games, and if a game isn't realistic enough, it's not going anywhere basically. No, but seriously, after the release of BeamNG, people really started finding out that realism isn't boring and there don't have to be over-the-top effects to make the game exciting and engaging. And I find that to be true, honestly. After I got BeamNG and spent a bit of time playing it, I have to say that I enjoy realistic games much more. One thing that BeamNG is behind in are graphics. Just take a look at other games and then compare it to BeamNG. Not as good, right? BeamNG would need better skies, reflections, textures, but don't forget, it is still in early access, so the dev team is working on improving the graphics. At one point, they even considered switching to Unreal Engine, but in the end, they decided that they've modified the Torque engine enough that it simply wouldn't be worth their time. And speaking of things that could improve in the future, let's talk about VR support. Back in the early days of BeamNG, it did actually include support for the Oculus Rift VR, but due to some issues, they were forced to remove it, and now there still isn't native VR support. And I believe that if the devs managed to add it, it would make the game much more immersive. Just imagine cruising around with VR and being able to look out of the side window at the rocket-equipped bus about to violently smash into you. That would be amazing, right? Anyways, there are many more features still waiting to be implemented, but there's one you can see being suggested almost everywhere: scratches and dirt particles. Some games like, for example, Forza got this feature spot on, and if your car gets dirty, it almost behaves like it would in real life. You can even wash it off in the water, which is really cool to be honest, and if BeamNG got this right, it would basically complete the look of a car damage simulator. And not only would it look cool, it would also be great for the career mode in the game. And I hope the devs would take inspiration from something like Test Drive Unlimited 2, as that game would really immerse you into the progression. Because I'd love to start with an old beat up shitbox, like a Pessima, and build my way up to, for example, a new Scintilla. But the future of the game is all up to the developers. We can already see that they are listening to the community. Like when we want a minivan, they give us a minivan. When we want an ETK remaster, they give us exactly that. And when we want walking mode, like in Rigs of Rods, they give us a Star Wars snowman, which is awesome. Thank you, devs. And honestly, I think that when BeamNG is in the hands of, in my opinion, one of the best developer teams there is, we can always expect to be pleasantly surprised by each update they make to this already incredible game. Anyways, if you haven't done it yet, consider joining my Discord server, as there are fun events and we even play BeamNG together sometimes, which is really entertaining. And that was all for this video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and possibly even subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.